internet here. Thank God. Internet here. Thank God. Okay, Tony, you're all set.
Okay. Thank you for joining the City of Kingston's Common Council at our Public Safety General Government meeting. Today is May the 26th, 2021. Before we begin, we would like to go over a few guidelines to help us navigate the system as efficiently and respectfully as possible. We ask that members of the public and press remain muted and off camera for the length of the meeting. The moderator for tonight is City Clerk Elisa Tinti, and she reserves the right to mute anyone who unmutes themselves. Council members and city staff will control their own mute button. Good practice would be able to mute yourself. Good practice would be to mute yourself if you are not speaking to avoid background noise and feedback. If a council member or staff wishes to speak, they will raise their hands. I will call on members by stating their name clearly for our audio listeners. All of our meetings are recorded. Both video and written transcripts will be made available to the public on the city's website. Although we will not have a public speaking tonight, you can sign up to speak at our monthly council meeting. Please email Elisa Tinti to sign up by noon the day of the meeting, or you can submit written comments for the record by the same deadline. The email address is emtinti, that's EMTINTI at kingston-ny.gov. You can also drop comments off at the drop box located outside the side door of the City Hall. We also encourage you to reach out to committee chairs or your ward's representative at any time. Clerk Elisa Tinti is our moderator for today's meeting. She has a right to lock and pause the meeting to reject anyone who has behaved inappropriately. Lastly, at tonight's meeting, we have in attendance Tony Davis, myself as the chair, committee members Michelle Hirsch and Doug Coop, and sitting in for today's meeting is Steve Shabbat. We also have I don't see any non-voting members. I looked earlier. Just want to double check. That's it. City staff today is Lindsay Timbrook from REC, John Schulteis, our city engineer, Dan Garstein, our corp counsel, and Elisa Tinti, our city clerk. And I apologize if I missed anybody else. I see a phone number there, and I'm not sure who that is. I'm not sure if that's the mayor or not, or someone else. And thank you for your patience during these difficult times. And on behalf of the Common Council, I wish you and your family good health. I now call this meeting to order at, I'm getting old, 7:04 p.m. Good evening. Good evening. We got several things on our agenda. I'm going to move them around because I promised and REC chair, supervisor, and Lindsay Timbrook last month that I would move the things around that she could get home to her, spend some time with her family. So the first thing on the agenda for new business is adopt a medium with the YMCA and Mayor Noble. I'm not sure if the mayor's here or not, or somebody representing the YMCA. Hello? Can you guys hear me? All right. So there, John, can you speak on that?
Yeah, I do know a little bit about it,
Okay.
Tony, if you'd like me to describe.
Yes, I had on the agenda that was being Mayor Noble, but if you could want to speak on it, John Schulteis, our city engineer, go right ahead.
Yeah, good evening. Yes, this is a request by the YMCA to become a sponsor of the median on Pine Grove Avenue from Broadway to near the Fuller Building. If you've traveled that street recently, you'll notice that there were street trees installed. That work was done by the YMCA. They took advantage of the planting season that we've had for the last few weeks rather than wait for the meeting tonight. But I believe you have the mayor's letter, which I think is in the package and dated I'm sorry, I just saw it. There's a letter dated April 29th from the mayor.
Any questions on this? Oh, Alderwoman Michelle Hurst, sorry.
Thank you, Chairman Davis. So I just want to say that the median looks great. I travel that way a couple of times a day. The trees are beautiful. So when it comes down to it, like who actually will still be doing the actual maintenance, like in mowing and weed whacking and watering?
My understanding is that it would be this partnership of the YMCA and the owner of the Fuller Building, i.e. Scott Dutton, would be taking that over, and over time doing maintenance and some other improvements that might consist of things like benches and
Excuse me.
some decorative elements like that.
So I just don't understand how that'll work. Like, how is it chosen that who's going to mow that week, or what's?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have that a specific detail. What I received was a construction plan showing the 18 trees. And then I guess within the, obviously things like the curbs and the pavement remain the city maintenance, but my understanding is the Y is prepared to step up and take care of the greenery.
I do not see this communication, and so I don't see it in today. I don't see it in today's agenda neither. I printed out. Did anybody else get that, or am I missing it for some reason? Yeah. Yes or no?
Yeah, it was in the agenda earlier today when I printed it.
Yeah, I see it.
Block Park. In the traffic signal, it's Green Kill. Traffic signals. Pearl Street. Recreation. Handicap. I see it. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions, Alderwoman Hirsch? Or John, were you still answering that? I read in this here, and where it states that this adoption, these supported neighbors will help and care for and maintain this area of Pine Grove Avenue, but it doesn't give any, whose week it's going to be, or are they going to be doing this together in regard to this? Any other questions on it then? I mean, it is a good idea. I mean, Tony Davis here, it seems good. I mean, they planted the trees, they're going to, and regrow trees on that median there. I mean, as long as, again, as long as there's not going to be any additional workload on the Department of, Parks and Recs or DPW. And if these two neighbors here are going to be the ones caring for and maintaining this area, I'm all for it. And I don't know if we need something in writing on that or not. I'm just throwing that out there. But I think it's just like, when the city or the county has adopted a highway and, people, this is, those groups who adopt those sections are, committing that they're going to, at some times in the year, are going to go out and clean clean that area up. So I'm looking at it as the same kind of type of thing that they're between the two of those built and places, they're going to be maintaining these trees. Would you say that's correct, John? City Engineer John Schulteis, is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, I think, based on a couple things, if you recall, a couple years ago, we did a storm. Obviously, there were trees there. We had to remove them about 2 years ago for a city storm drain project.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting back what was there, and in addition, there were, the plan I've seen calls for, over time things could be added like benches, like some ground cover and maybe even decorative pavement. That's not really part of what we're doing here today, but within the city code is Chapter 3, adopt a highway, park, or shoreline program. And it sort of, defines what they might be doing. It's sort of as written envisions, trash pickup and things like that. So they're kind of going above and beyond doing just that by installing the landscape features. But that's the mayor's general request, is to make this median adopted by the YMCA.
Now, it also says in here, and that the Department of Public Works will produce a sign to be mounted there. What's the sign? Do we know what the sign's supposed to say or be? And it says in request.
I'm trying to picture, because I don't think we have any similar signs in the city. If we do, it's probably just a standard street sign that says that, this median maintained by YMCA of Ulster County.
All right. Okay. Any other questions? Any other discussion? So I will read the committee report or resolution or committee report. Type, I guess I'll put in here. I am happy to report a new partnership between the YMCA, the Fuller Building, and the City of Kingston was formed in an effort to renew and replant the Pines Grove medium. This past week, 18 little leaf lindens were planted along the corridor. I would like to formally recognize the YMCA of Ulster County and the Fuller Building for being willing to adopt the medium. Through this adoption, these supportive neighbors will help to care for and maintain this area, Pine Grove Avenue. I would like to request that the Kingston Common Council formally recognize this adoption per city code and request that the Department of Public Works produce a sign to be mounted in this area. That's what I'm going to put attachment to. Any discussion on this more? Alderwoman and Michelle Hirsch.
Yes, hi, it's Alderwoman Hirsch. So my understanding with the code, and I'm just reading it, it says that after a period of not less than 3 months, the organization or group shall request that the city, through the Department of Public Works, review its work and report their findings to the council. And then after the DPW makes a recommendation, a resolution should be offered to post the park as an adopted site. So do we have that yet?
Alderman Tony Davis here. This letter is dated April 29, 2021. And that is the only communication I have in regard to this. And I'm not familiar with this code. You're stating the code says 3 months?
Yes.
What's the code number?
Chapter 3, adopt a highway, park, or shoreline program. And then there's a purpose, petition to participate, application requirements, application review, authorization by Department of Public Works.
And we don't know if that's been, your question is, we don't know if that's.
So have we done that? Yes, that's my question.
And Lindsay Turnbrook, the head of, or she's the head of rec. I'm not sure if it goes through that. and we don't have anybody here representing the public works. So I don't know if we're going to be able to get those questions answered today. And the mayor's not on. That might be able to fill in some of those gaps. And so,
Well, you could certainly, Tony,
yes,
Dan Gartenstein, you could certainly pass it out, and those answers can be secured, by next week. And whatever needs to be done to move the process forward, if Michelle is properly reading the statute, and I have no doubt that she is, then the sooner you adopt the resolution, the sooner the 3 months start counting.
okay, all right. And any more discussion on this? So, I mean, again, I've read the resolution. I can read it again if you need. But can we have a motion on it? And I believe Steve Shabbat might be the one that's on the phone because he's sitting there for ready. Doug, you motion it?
Yes.
Thank you. Do we have a second? I will second it. All in favor? And Steve, you have to let me know if you're muted. I can't tell if that's Steve Shabbat that's supposed to be sitting for Rennie.
I don't think that's Steve on the phone.
Yes, it is Steve. He texted me.
Well, he's muted right now, so I got to hear something from him. I don't think he's allowed to just call me.
Yeah, Tony,
He's not in. but
Ariel from the,
is in.
hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Ariel from the Freeman just sent me a text to let me know that she is the person on the phone. So if
Okay.
you're looking for,
All right. So
someone
it's
to identify themselves, she just did.
already. So we don't see Steve here then.
Steve is on his way in. He just
Okay.
logged in.
All righty. I'm going to wait for Steve. I mean, we do have a quorum with this three of us. Should I just wait or proceed and wait for Steve to come in for the other items? I'll wait for Steve to Shabbat to show up.
In. Steve is in the meeting.
Hello, Steve Shabbat. Alderman Shabbat.
Can you hear me?
I can hear
Can you
you.
hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Steve, I'm going to read. We did through the first item on the agenda, and I'll be happy to read it again.
All right.
I'm happy to report that a new partnership between the YMCA, the Fuller Building, and the City of Kingston was formed in an effort to renew and replant the Pine Grove medium. This past week, 18 little leaf lindens were planted along the corridor. I would like to formally recognize the YMCA of Ulster County and the Fuller Building for being willing to adopt a medium. Through this adoption, these supportive neighbors will help to care for and maintain this area of Pine Grove Avenue. I would like to request that the Kingston Common Council formally recognize this adoption per city code and request that the Department of Public Works produce a sign to be mounted in this area. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. Mayor Steve Noble. So we had a motion by Doug, a second by me, and we were just in the process of taking the vote. And so I just need to know, and again, I'm going to ask for that vote. So show of hands if you are approve it.
Tony, am I a voting member?
Steve, you're sitting in for Doug or Rennie today, per Rennie's email to me earlier this week. All right. Against it? Shell, you voting one way or the other? Because I can't see.
You already voted.
Oh, I didn't see you at all. So you're for it?
Mhm.
Okay, okay, 4-0. All right. We got that one. Got one out of the way. Now, the next on the agenda, we're going to jump to Rex Supervisor or Director of Parks and Recreation, Lindsay Timbrook. And Lindsay, welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Do you like to speak about what you're here for today?
Yes. So the Recreation Commission would like to formally request that the Block Park basketball courts be named in honor of Ken Bryant Jr. Most of you know Kenny or knew Kenny. He was a rec commissioner. He was the chair of the rec commission in 2004 and sadly passed away in 2012. And so I hope everyone got the documents that I sent. Per the naming policy, the rec commission was supposed to come up with an application for any sort of naming of parks, benches, facilities, pavilions, things like that. And so that is what we've created and then filled it in with, the request for Block Park basketball courts to be named in honor of Kenny, along with our explanation. We were also asked to provide a design sample of what the sign will look like. If you guys could refer to that, it will be similar to the traditional park signs, except it will have this information on it. We've also included a statement of support from the family, showing that they welcome this honor on behalf of Kenny. There's other information on the application, such as the dimensions of the sign, where exactly it'll be located. I believe there was a sample, or excuse me, a proposed location facing out to the street. And we've gotten the support from the mayor, of course, and we wanted to ask the General Government Public Safety Committee to extend their support as well.
Thank you, Lindsay. Any questions before I read the resolution? I think it's gonna, or the, yes, committee report, I should say. Nope. Alrighty, so I didn't make the committee report up, but it's gonna read something like this. And request by the Parks and Recreation Commission to dedicate the Block Park basketball courts in honor of Kenneth Bryant, along with a signage. Do I have to be more specific in location or anything like that? I think we all know where Block Park is. All right. Motion to discuss. Motion to discuss. All right. Motion to discuss. Doug?
Motion.
All right. Any discussion on this? We got motion to discuss, a second by Michelle Hirsch. Any more discussion? Any further discussion? Okay. So, can I take a vote? All in favor? Show of hands. Steve Shabbat. Steve Shabbat, you muted. All right. Steve. All right. I can't hear him. I mean, we got three right now. Steve?
Just text me to say yes. He voted yes.
Say it again.
Steve texted me to vote yes.
All righty. Can I take it that way, Corp Counsel?
That is fine.
All right. Thank you. So, motion 4-0. All right. Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you all. Very much appreciated. Have a good night.
You too. Next on the agenda was third was that Chief Reagan's plaque modifications. This is Alderman Shabbat. So hopefully you can hear me. I can speak on this. No. So we'll have to come back to that because we got technical difficulties with Steve at this time, and he's the one that submitted this. Fourth, then, on the agenda for new business, Greenkill at Wilbur, removal of signage, signal, and addition of stop sign. City Engineer John Schulteis, can you speak in regard to this?
Yeah, thank you. Good evening. If you recall, towards the end of last year, we did a project that involved removing 11 traffic signals at various locations around the city. I'm happy to report, really, that's gone very smoothly, and all of those locations have been functioning well. So when we've become aware of traffic signals that are no longer warranted, we're going through this process. It's been successful at the other 11 locations. So we did a study here at Greenkill at Wilbur and found the same condition exists. That is, the traffic signal is not warranted using the tests or warrants that are prescribed in the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. So the request before you is to remove the existing traffic signal and replace it with an all-way stop condition. I'm here for questions.
Any questions? Well, I guess I don't see, let me read I guess I'm supposed to read the committee report. So let me read that first, and then we can go into questions. I apologize here. It says amend 39-84 Schedule I traffic signal to delete the intersection of Greenkill at Wilbur, and amend 39-92 Schedule 1X stop intersection to end the intersection listed above as an all-way stop sign or all-way stop intersection. Motion to discuss?
Motion.
Motion, Doug. Second? Michelle Hurst. Any discussion? Alderwoman Michelle Hurst. Sorry, you said that the last time.
Thank you, Chairman Davis. This is a question for engineer. The stop line on Wilbur that's set back, like, will that stay the same?
No, no, to answer the question, that stop sign, the stop line and stop sign on Wilbur will have to be moved forward to allow for sight distance. One of the considerations there is truck movements. That, one of the reasons why that stop bar is pulled back is to allow for truck movements. So we did observe the intersection functioning during truck movements, and we obtained some statistics about the percentage of trucks on Greenkill and Wilbur. The percentage is about 4%. And so we know that there will be occasional need for vehicles to back up or wait their turn to clear the intersection for trucks, but we think that's going to be an infrequent occurrence.
Thank you.
And this is our chairman, Tony Davis. John Schulteis, city engineer. How much forward will that, do you know if that stop line will be moved forward? You know how many feet or anything?
From its present location, I estimate it's about 40 to 50 feet. There's a building at the one of the quadrants of that intersection. I believe it's the southwest quadrant, and the stop bar would have to be close to or past that building to allow for a sight line.
Okay. Any other questions? I'm just going through here and with anybody's hand. So if there's no other questions, and motion to I'm going to take a vote. All in favor? And I read the resolution. Oh, I'm sorry, motion by Doug. Second? Michelle Hirsch. All in favor, show of hands, thumbs. Again, I can't see Steve. Is he communicating with you, Lisa? If not, I'll put it down for 3-0.
I don't have anything yet.
I can't hear you.
Hold on, he's trying to get in a different way. Let me see.
Hello?
Give the thumbs up.
He gave the thumbs up. All right. Passes 4-0. Okay. Thank you, John. And next thing on the agenda, I apologize here because I was saving paper, so I had things like double on both sides. Next thing on the agenda, Steve, is he able to speak now to talk about Chief Riggins plaque modifications? Steve Shabbat, Alderman Steve Shabbat.
He's trying to unmute himself on the phone and he's having a difficult time.
Okay, I will come back to him again. And the next thing on the item then is a handicap removal. And these last 3 items are Alderman and Shabbat. That I don't think we need to have them speak in regard to the removal of some handicap signage. And so let me just get that one, please.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear. Yes, I can hear you, Alderman Shabbat. Can you hear me? Can you hear us? Can you hear me? All right, so I'm going to wait for him to be able to tell me that he can speak that. And what we're going to do is going to go to and next thing on the agenda, which is handicap removal. And Steve has requested, Alderman Steve Shabbat has requested the removal of handicap signage at the following address, 111 Grove Street. I don't think we really have to have much discussion on this, and I can just take the vote unless somebody really wants to discuss it.
Motion.
Motion, Doug, thank you. Second. Her second. All right. All in favor, show of hands. Remove a Grove Street signage at Grove Street. And I'm assuming Steve Shabbat's going to be a yes for us since he's the one that motioned it. And can I assume that he said yes?
Yes.
Thank you. That's Grove Street. The last thing on the item, next thing on the item is remove a handicap parking signs. Nope, that is sorry. Remove a handicap removal. I thought I seen 2 for Steve. Hold on for a minute. I know it's another one. Steve Cabot, that's that. I thought Steve had another one, but maybe that was the only one. But it says the handicap removal somewhere else.
Is that a duplicate?
It has it twice on the agenda, though. That's why.
Yeah, yeah.
At least am I missing something?
There's 2 different handicap requests, both of them from Steve Shabbat, but they're different addresses.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out where this is on my
Grove Street is one.
Grove Street. We just did. And uniform traffic, customers authorized. That's the Black Park. I thought I did every one of these. I printed out.
Spring Street is the other.
What is it?
Spring Street.
Furnace?
Spring.
I do not have this stuff here.
Spring Street.
Doppet medium. Alrighty, I'm sorry. I have it. Next thing on the agenda is handicap parking signs be removed from 155 Spring Street as per owner request. No longer needed. Sorry about that. 155 Spring Street. Motion. Doug. Second. Michelle. All in favor, show of hands, please, or thumbs. Get the verbal from Steve. Is he for it? Thank you. So I apologize again about this. So we got Grove Street. We got everything on new business except for the former police chief Riggins plaque modifications, and that Steve needs to speak about. And I can read what was sent to me. You guys, I believe, received all the
Sorry, I'm calling Steve's phone right now and to put him on speaker if I can get him on the phone.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, Tony, I have him on speaker. Here's Steve.
Hello, finally.
Hi, Steve. You want to speak in regard to the modifications to Chief Riggins' plaque?
Actually, this is kind of old business. We voted on Chief Riggins, I don't know, about 2 years ago. I mean, it was, a very large-scale production, shall we say, and they have decided against that. They had a stone wall for the front of the old city hall, and they have changed it. Everything should have been sent to you.
Can you guys hear him?
I don't know if you can hear me. I got a lot of squeaking on my computer.
We can hear you now, but we couldn't hear you before.
All right, I'm gonna move away. So we voted on this, which includes the stone wall in front of the police department, old city hall. They have modified city hall plans drastically.
Steve, you had so much feedback. I will just read what was sent to us, and so that the people at home that are listening will be able to understand it. So I'll just read what was sent to me. Thank you anyway. So, requested, group representing the late Kingston Police and Police Chief James Reagan has requested addition of the attached lettering to the facade of both the front and rear of the Kingston Police Headquarters. This represents a modification of legislation which was approved in July of 2018 by the Common Council. The previous request called for the addition of a stone wall in front of the building with the lettering on the wall. The group has also requested a small plaque honoring Chief Riggins inside the front door. Work on the project was not initiated. Subsequently, have submitted this modification of the request consisting of lettering on the front entrance of the building as well as the rear entrance. And you guys all received pictures of it, what it would look like. They also requested that a plaque be placed inside the front entrance honoring Chief Riggins. All renderings are attached. So again, everybody had what the plaque would look like, what the writing on the front and back of the front entrance and back entrance of the police station will look like. This work will be done with private contributions and no cost will be incurred by the city of Kingston. The group also expressed interest in beautifying the planning around the entrance to the building. As per Corporation Council, the modifications must be approved by the Common Council. So that is that. And that was from Steve Shabbat. So basically, the committee report will read, as per attached, modifications to the July 2018 Common Council approval. And the modifications are to put, consist of lettering on the front entrance of the building as well as the rear entrance, and also requesting that a plaque be placed inside the front entrance honoring Chief Riggins. That is what the committee report's going to read. Any question? Any question? No questions.
Motion.
Motion by Doug. Thanks, Doug. Second by Michelle. Those are the only ones to see. Show of hands. Who's in favor of this modification? I'm assuming Steve is for it. Alderman Shabbat is, but Lisa, can you see if he can give you a confirmation of that?
Have nothing so far.
Is that a yes?
Recording in progress.
I'm assuming it's that a yes of him. I'm assuming it's that. I'm just going to leave it at 3-0, 3-0, since we can't get that back. Alrighty, now on old business, so that takes care of all the new business. Old business is stop intersections, and which we discussed last month. I'm just going to leave it. We brought it back. It was brought back to committee at this time, and we cannot take up or do anything with it, and we have to go to finance in order and for them to pass if it's going to pass out for, because we were informed by the superintendent of DPW that this is going to be a substantial cost, so that's why it was removed from Common Council last month. It's been sent back to us. Take up or do anything. Somebody's just recording me, I think, so I'm getting this feedback. But so at this time, there's nothing we can do, and until we hear back from finance and what their terms of what they're going to do. So it's on hold until finance can discuss the budget requests. Okay? All right. And then the other one is a loading zone for CCE at the building on, holy cow.
Excuse me, Tony?
Yes.
If we can just clarify, it is not a loading zone for CCE. It is a loading zone for Energy Square that is being requested by RUPCO.
RUPCO, okay.
CCE is their tenant.
Okay, thank you for that. And what, I forgot that street.
I believe it's Cedar.
Cedar, all right. So old business was a loading zone and requested by RUPCO and the owner of the building, and for where CCE is one of the tenants. And so that was on our agenda last month, and then we tabled it, and now we're back here. And so we could have discussion on this. And so let me find this communication here. Since I thought we had removed it, but now it's back on. Alrighty, so what I have here for communication from last week, it would read, proposed strip drop off, no parking zone in front of the recently completed Energy Square building at 20 Cedar Street. The drop off zone is intended for the dual use by the Energy Square tenancy and users of the Center for Creative and Education on the first floor. It will require elimination of approximately six on-street parking spaces, but also provide an additional handicap parking space close to the corner at Iwo Jima Lane. That is what.
Tony, if I could just clarify a couple of things. First, Public Safety addressed this back in November initially, based on a request from CCE. They were told at that point that there were certain issues with regard to the use of their space, and that certain things needed to be clarified through the planning board. Their use of the space has basically morphed during the pandemic, so that they are currently running a program there that was not the program that was initially contemplated. They are going to be straightening out those issues in the coming months once the emergency circumstances abate. The request before you this evening is a request from RUPCO for a loading zone attendant to the general use of the building, not specifically with regard to CCE. And it is based upon the full tenancy of the building, the numerous uses of the building, in addition to the configuration of the space in front of Cedar Street and the way traffic turns that corner. So RUPCO is basically requesting a loading zone independent of the CCE use to satisfy the needs of the entire building.
All right, so let me rephrase this then. The repetitive report basically say request by RUPCO to install or put in a loading zone and for the general use of the entire building. Question, Alderman Coop.
Did I understand this is going to take away or obviate 6 revenue producing parking spaces permanently?
I don't believe there were meters in those spaces, but I'm not 100% sure.
There is no meters in those places.
So Doug, they're on-street parking spaces that are currently not metered.
That's correct.
So this would mean that you can't park there, whether it's revenue producing or not.
Correct. I mean, there is not lined at this time. There's no line line signage that indicates certain parking spots there on either side or in front of that building, and there is no meters at this time neither.
Well, my guess is that the parking zone would be used 5% of the time, but parking would be eliminated 100% of the time. That doesn't sound like a good deal, whether we're producing revenue or not. It's giving up how many places? 3?
Again, that was an old communication, so I'm not. That was in regard to something else. I'm not sure how many parking spaces a normal loading zone.
Even if it's 1, that doesn't seem like a good trade. Because that's a busy part of town, particularly, it's for UPAC and et cetera, to give all that up, essentially 100% of the time for a loading zone that's hardly ever going to be used. That doesn't make any sense to me.
I believe saying hardly ever used is not accurate. It certainly would be used during specific hours of the day. If you are suggesting that the loading zone be limited to business hours, that's one thing, but there certainly is a lot of traffic in and out of that building during business hours.
Right.
Not just traffic related to the current use by CCE, but related to the occupants of the building and the other uses there.
And
Yeah, I think, I think we need more information on this. I'm not comfortable with this
I hear you.
because I think we're giving up parking spaces that are few and far between. That's a heavy area requiring parking. And we're giving 100% of it away and I appreciate the need for a loading zone, but I think that has to be, defined a lot closer rather than, this is either or. We give up all these spaces for the parking zone that would be used 5%, 10%, 15, I don't know what it is, but it's damn small to be sure.
I understand.
I'm not comfortable with that. So I would not vote for that.
Okay. Any other questions? Any more, Doug?
No.
All right. I just have a question here to John Schulteis. And John, could you tell us how many on average a handicap or loading zone might take up? I mean, I know it's not striped, so.
Right, they're not striped, but a typical parallel parking space is about 22 to 23 feet long.
And
So
what's
times
that?
six, I think, is what this request is talking about.
I know in Uptown, we've given away parking spaces for loading zone, and I'm not sure it was a good decision.
Mhm.
These take up 3 or 4 parking spaces, and there's hardly ever someone loading or unloading. I'm not
I'm just
sure
trying
that
to actually clarify it, like John, how many cars would that be on the average then? How many parking spaces would that be about? John Schulteis.
Communication says 6.
Huh?
The communication says 6.
No, I think that was, I might have read that. Require elimination of, so I'm not sure if that was still the same parking there, I bet, yeah. Go on, City Engineer John Schulteis.
Yeah, I looked at this briefly last year, and I admit if I was supposed to look at it in response, in preparation for this current meeting, I really did not. However, it does appear to me that there's some interplay with the planning board approval of this that I may not be aware of, but it does seem we need a more detailed description if the council is going to take an action here.
Yeah, I mean, timing is not of the essence here, is it?
Yeah.
Well, if I can just clarify, John, when this was in front of Public Safety back in November, I believe you did write up a recommendation, and I believe that it was ready to pass and everybody was in support of it, including your office. We put the brakes on it because of issues related to the use of the building and questions with regard to whether CCE's use had been considered by the planning board during initial site plan review. Those issues have all been clarified. So we're basically back to where we were in November, which was that there were no issues with it. And I believe there is a written communication from your office, dating back to November.
And I don't have that communication in front of me. And so I see it is some questions here, several questions here. And I'm sorry, Alderwoman and Michelle Hurst, I know you had your hand up before and I apologize.
Right. So I know it was before us in November, but now that we're doing all the work on Broadway and there are parking spaces being lost on Broadway, I'm just curious if there's any way to have a drop zone in the Repco building parking lot. Is there any room for that? The Energy Square parking lot?
Yeah, I mean, again, not something I have any information on. And I'm not sure if anybody else has any information on that as well. I understand, yes, you know, could they drop off? I'm not, the loading zone, I'm not, again, is it to unload people, you know, people out of vehicles, or is it for, you know, as they, you know, regularly used uptown and other places to, you know, for, and correct me if I'm wrong, loading zones sometimes are for people bringing in, you know, products and stuff like that and have to be dropped off in the buildings. And I'm not sure exactly what this use of this loading zone is going to be for.
That's drop-off zone for the safety of children.
Correct.
Probably equipment, children,
Yep.
whatever.
I mean, I know I went past there yesterday and was like several cars double parked with their things on because children were getting out of the car or getting into the car, and right in front of the building. And that, you know, but I do understand, you know, what like Doug is, Alderman Coop has brought up with UPAC coming back in, et cetera, et cetera. And yes, and if it's going to be 6 spots, that's going to be a lot that we're going to have to, I mean, if you guys want more information, we can, you know, we can table it and see if we can get more information from and the parties who want this. And
Yeah, I would recommend that, Tony.
And so we have a recommendation to table this and until we get some more information. Second. I don't know if we have to take a vote on this, do we? Yes. If we're going to table it.
I have a question.
Yes, Steve. Shabbat, Alderman Shabbat.
Hear me?
Yes.
Okay. You know, this seems to be an obvious need for this place. Why was it not discussed, you know, at the planning board meetings? You know, and why is, I'm not quite sure I understand why this kind of made it through and now all of a sudden this is a pressing need after they've been only open a short while. I mean, it seems like, you know, this can be in.
Well, I believe the need is because at the time it was open, we didn't know what the pandemic, and they didn't know that they were going to be having, like, you know, programs for students who might not be, you know, additionally students who might not be going into school remotely. And I believe, and they've been contracted as a location for people to go to, you know, to do their work, their schoolwork. And I think that is one of the places that people and students can go to, you know, for remote access, Wi-Fi access if they don't have it.
I think Michelle, I think had a good question. You know, can things be loaded off in the back, in the parking lot?
And it, I guess someone would have to reach out to them to see if that's an option for them.
I don't know, if the truck's really big, maybe not, but you know, it's pretty hard to pull in an 18-wheeler, I would imagine, but a box truck or a bus or something could easily accommodate a lot of that, I would think.
All right.
I think we need to know more on this.
So
I mean, I think we should try and accommodate. I can see the need, but the trade-off is just a little unbalanced, I think, as I understand it.
All righty. And so we have a motion, a second to table it. I guess we have to take a vote on if we're going to table it. Steve, and a show of hands if you want to table this. I guess we have to do that. Steve Shabbat.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
All right. And what I'll do in the meantime for next, I will reach out to RUPCO and someone at Representative RUPCO to see in the questions regard to, and is this something that could do a drop off and in the parking lot, in the Energy Square parking lot? or is this something that they can't accomplish? And then if they could come back and, you know, and how many, and I guess we could also I could ask them how many spaces if you need a loading zone, and for this, you know, and we make it, I'm not sure if it has to be a certain width, and city engineer John Schulteis, does the loading zone have to be a certain width, or could we say it's only, you know, a loading zone for one vehicle?
I think ultimately it needs to be defined as so many feet for starting and so many, you know, feet ending from a location, so that the signs can be appropriately posted.
All right, so if that's an option, I can ask them if they only need a certain amount of feet, and we could put that in the report.
You can also move it out this evening and ask Chuck Snyder to be available at caucus to answer your questions. And if you're not satisfied with Chuck's answers, then you can, you know, vote it down, you know, at the council meeting. They have been waiting for a while. There is a current use at this point that, you know, is causing traffic issues there. As Michelle noted, there's also significant, you know, construction on Broadway right now, and the configuration is changing. But I mean, this was, again, held up because of, you know, issues with the planning board that have since been resolved. So this has been pending. It has been pending for quite a while. And the use that Tony just described, you know, as a remote learning center, you know, is certainly going to change in the next couple of months as the school semester ends, and, you know, given the fact that, you know, kids are going to be back in person next year. But again, you know, Chuck should be, I was under the impression he was going to be available this evening to answer questions. You know, an option certainly is having him available on, you know, Tuesday, and just having him clarify things.
Chuck who?
Chuck Snyder.
Snyder.
Yeah, Chuck Snyder from RUPCO. He's, you know, appeared and spoken to you about, you know, a number of issues in the past.
So with that information, and would we want to table it and voting on it, and so we can get out, and then we can have a discussion at our caucus meeting, or those ones who motion and second it still want to table it?
Well, you know, I have no objection to moving it up to caucus. You know, that it might take a little bit more time than we want. Caucus meetings, you know, are getting kind of long, and I think this one, you know, I mean, just look at how much time we've talked about it here.
Correct.
This is not a 2-minute thing at caucus. I think I'd rather keep it at, I don't think time is of the essence here. So if we put it off another month, I don't see that's a big deal.
Well, Doug, just for clarification, people are loading and unloading and using it as a loading zone now, and have been for quite a while. So in that regard, time is of the essence, because currently there is activity there that is, you know, in violation of the code. We are not sending people out there to enforce the code for practical reasons. But if you drive by there any day, you will see that there are, you know, there is significant activity in and out of the building, and, you know, significant, you know, technically traffic violations by people who are reasonably using the space to pick up and drop off kids and for other functions attendant to the building.
Well, yeah, I don't see a danger in continuing that way, although maybe we're turning a blind eye to the code until we can resolve this, you know, in committee and in council. You know, I guess I would opt again just to have a presentation and understand this a little bit better in the next committee, or if you want to have we don't do this very often with this committee, but, you know, a special meeting.
The only thing about special meeting, because caucus is we got finance, we got
Right.
caucus, then we got common council. Everything's happening on the same day, next month.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so, I mean, and again, I can go either way. I mean, if we want to and pass it out of here and then send it to caucus, and where we can have more people be able to have answers. And if Chuck can answer the questions, if the questions not answered to our satisfaction, and then we can send it back to committee. If his answers are satisfactory, then we got not only our committee, but we had the whole common council that can then vote on it and get this through.
Yeah.
Again, that's on the committee.
So-
I don't.
So Tony, if I hear you right, you're saying table this into caucus, and if we're not happy at caucus, then we can kick it back to this committee.
No, what I'm saying is that we would have to vote on it today to pass it out of this committee, and then get more answers at caucus. And if we don't like that, we could table it again, or we could disapprove it. With the whole majority thing. I don't know if we can table it and then have a conversation at caucus and then vote on it, because we're not having a special caucus. We're not having a special public safety general government meeting.
Right.
So, we would have to vote on this now and then send it to caucus and then have the answers. Any
Well, we've
questions we have
already-
answered.
Point of order, but we've already voted on it, have we?
Yeah, I'm not, that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure if we can change it. That's Corporation Council to be able to advise me of that.
Advise you about what, Tony? I didn't get the
If
question.
we already voted and tabled this, we already took that vote. So I don't know if we can change that now.
Yeah, you just vote to untable it and,
Okay.
and
That's right.
pass it
Then
forward
vote.
and address it on Tuesday night, or don't. I mean,
Okay. So
we've
let me
already
ask,
spent-
is there a motion to vote to untable and this item of request from RUPCO to propose for a proposed loading zone for general use of the entire building on 20 Cedar Street? Is there a motion to untable it? Michelle? Second? Steve?
I'll second.
All right. So we got a second to untable it from Steve. So again, the motion would be, I'm going to read the resolution: request from RUPCO to propose for a proposed loading zone and for general use of their entire building at 20 Cedar Street. So we have a motion by Michelle and we had a second by Steve to untable it. And that's the motion. Everybody in favor of untabling it, raise your hand or give me an aye.
Aye.
So that's 3. Anybody propose against it? Doug. So that's 3-1. So the pass is to untable it. So now, again, I will read this request so we can vote on it. Request from RUPCO for a proposed loading zone for general use of the entire building at 20 Cedar Street. Any discussion? So hearing no discussion, I'll take the vote. All in favor of this motion, raise your hand and commit aye.
What are we voting on?
Again, a request from RUPCO for proposed loading zone for general use of the entire building at 20 Cedar Street. That's what we're voting on. It passed out. The table was removed 3-1, where you to decide against it. So now it's back on for discussion, which is in the discussion, the item is request from RUPCO for a proposed loading zone for general use of the entire building at 20 Cedar Street. So that's what's on. That's what we're voting on now.
I thought we were going to vote on this at caucus.
Well, we have to vote on here to pass it through the caucus, and then we can get our questions answered at caucus, right? We still have
So
to.
we're not, what we're voting, and Dan, help me on this. We're voting on just passing this on to caucus.
Correct. We still have to pass it out of caucus anyway. And then, well, not pass out of caucus. We have the discussion at caucus. Then it has to be passed or shot down at Common Council. That's all going to happen on the same day. We're going to request that Chuck Snyder be there to answer our questions at caucus. And then we can make an informed decision later that day at Common Council if we have any questions.
Tony, procedurally, you can either pass it on to caucus with a positive recommendation or a negative recommendation.
Correct.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay. And at caucus, the full council votes.
Correct.
So if there are 3 votes in favor of it now, with the understanding that it is going to be fully discussed on Tuesday night, you're passing it with a positive recommendation. If there aren't 3 votes, you're passing it on with a negative recommendation.
Yes.
It's not that complicated.
Correct. All right. So those in favor of this proposal, this resolution, raise your hand or say aye. Or finger.
Aye.
Steve? Aye. Against it? So it's passed 3-1 with Doug. It's a sending vote. So it's moving on to caucus for more discussion. I will make sure, and City Clerk Elisa Tenti, if you can make sure that Chuck Snyder from RUPCO is invited to caucus, please. With the understanding that we're going to have questions in regard to this request.
I mean, I'll just say, I'm sure we can resolve all this.
Yeah. But yeah. Did you hear me, Elisa?
Tangled up here in untabling and so forth. But,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I think we can make it happen.
All righty. Any other discussions? That was all that I had for new and old business. No more discussion. Can I call for a vote to?
Make a motion to end the meeting.
Thank you. Michelle, second.
Wait a minute. This is the 4th vote. What are we voting on?
We're voting on now to end this meeting, committee meeting.
Oh, all right.
Second, Doug.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Steve, are you in favor of it?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. So the meeting ends at 8:13 p.m. And George,
Okay.
we will see you in a couple days at the big caucus, special finance, common council meeting.
Okay.
Take care. Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. If I don't see you, everybody, red, white, and blue.
All right.
Remember the
Thanks,
fallen.
Elisa.
Huh?
Thank you.
Yep. Remember
Thank
the
you,
fallen.
Elisa.
All right.
Veterans.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Good night.